Ah, 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 ah. Good day, y'all. Master Monk. Hey, so look, just wanted to share something with y'all, man. I'm going to go ahead in this gym, get me a good workout in the day, and I've been pondering on something all weekend when I've been in the shop cutting. I just kept getting downloads. And I was like, man, I got some time, man. Let me share something with my people. Um, what the universe been putting in my spirit to get to y'all. And upon my observation, I noticed like you know what I mean, just looking at music and music as an analogy of my point that I'm expressing right now. I noticed like a lot of artists when it comes to R&B, when it comes to hip hop, a lot of them are like even producers. You know what I mean? They dig into the crates, man, and they look into the previous past eras to pull inspiration and pull like music from in order to remix or redo, you know what I mean, particular sounds and rhythms in order to make some new music today. So to me, what that shows me is this particular era we in is lacking creativity. And that's not just with music, but that's in fashion. You starting to see everybody dress alike, look alike. That's in like perspectives. Everybody starting to have the same perspective and viewpoints. Just all around, even food. Like everybody going to different fast food chains, different, the same fast food chains or the same places to eat. It's like, what happened to the creativity? What happened to the uniqueness? What happened to the individuality? What happens to the people actually creating something from within themselves? Instead of having to pull from music from the 50s or the 60s or the 70s, why you can't just come up with something now, you know what I mean, that's unique, so somebody can pull from you to make a remix? Or even in fashion, why everybody getting something off of the mannequin? Why you can't, use your creativity and put your own style and swag and fashion together? Even in food, why you gotta go to like McDonald's? Why you gotta go to KFC? Why you can't create your own recipe and your own unique flavor and taste and sauce or whatever it is that you need to do in order to create something unique, a one of one? What happened to the one of ones? I asked myself that, and I want to share that with y'all. I noticed that the reason why the creativity is getting more diluted, it even hints at what certain scriptures say, how people might get wiser but get weaker. So what that means to me is people are getting smarter per se, but they're getting weaker when it comes to, standards and creativity and uniqueness and individuality. But I hope I ain't rambling here. I'm actually coming up with a point and a solution. The solution to what I'm saying is, I noticed that as more distractions became more and more prevalent, the concentration and the focus got more and more diluted, and the creativity got more and more weaker. So with that being said, I feel like the solution to that is, if you're able to maintain the same level of focus that they had in the 50s, in the 60s, and the 70s, before all of these distractions were so prevalent, I feel like that's the key to creating something unique again. That's the key to creating something that's a one of one again. That's the key to creating music that people never heard before. That's the key to creating fashion that people never saw before. Because I noticed like in the 50s, in the 60s, and the 70s, well, I'm going to just say especially like in the 50s and the 60s, I know they didn't have the same level of distractions that we have now. So it was more easy for them to be focused and more creative. They didn't have 1,000 different channels pulling at their focus, 1,000 different news programs, 1,000 different shows to catch up with, 1,000 different restaurants to eat from, 1,000 different mannequins to pick from when it comes to pulling from fashion. You know what I mean? They might have had a bullhorn. They might have had a newspaper to spread messages. They might have had one black and white TV channel. One thing. They didn't have the abundance of distractions that we have now. So with that being said, if you want to be truly unique, if you want to create something of value, if you want to make something that other people have to mimic and pull from again, and use your true creativity, that means you got to remove all the distractions. You got to have the same level of focus that they had, in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 40s. And the way you do that is you unplug from the world. You unplug from all these different TV channels, all these different social media mediums, all these different restaurants, all these different mannequins. You unplug from all of these different distractions and you become one again. And back then they might have, even if you look at the Michael Jackson movie, they was less distracted, man. They were honed in on their skill and their craft, and them boys would practice that same move over and over and over again until they mastered it. Hence why you produce something like Michael Jackson. You produce a Michael Jackson because he was a lot more undistracted than we are now. Now it's a little more difficult because when people be in the studio producing something, they looking at their phone, they checking their email, they checking their social media, they filming it so that they can show the world. But imagine if you can maintain the same level of focus and undistractedness as they had in the 40s before all these distractions came, as they had in the 50s and the 60s before all these different TV channels and mediums and all these different restaurants and all these different clothing stores. Imagine if you can maintain that same level of focus. Imagine what you can create now. Because what I realized all the greats really got in common is that elite level focus. They can care less about what's going on social media. They can care less about all these different restaurants. They can care less about all these different mannequins to pull from. They literally cut all that off and hone in on what it is they want to create, and here we go with the scriptures again, how they say, it's a particular scripture where they say, I might be paraphrasing, but they say, make a vision, write the vision and make it plain, whereas though, come up with your goal, come up with your plans, come up with it is what you want to create and make it plain, write it down and only plug into things that's conducive to manifesting that, because what I realize is, women, they give birth, through their vagina, but men, we give birth through our minds, And the same way a woman got to go through labor pains and nurture that baby and, hold it for 9 months. And then they finally release something precious, something great, something divine as a childbirth. The same way with men. And even women had the ability to create this way too. But imagine if you treated what you creating like childbirth. You write it down, you write the vision, make it plain. You put your vision board out there and you just give yourself a good strong 9 months of focus and nurturing what it is you wrote down. You give it all of the information. You give it your body all of the nutrients that it takes to sustain and create. You give your body all of the rest. You give your body all of the things that's only conducive to what it is you wrote down and gave it 9 months of the absolute focus. You remove yourself from all of the different distractions of the world and you just lock in. You wake up, live, sleep, and breathe what it is you wrote down. And imagine what you can manifest once you unplug from all of the distractions of the world. So imagine if you was to have 50s level focus, 60s level focus before all these TV channels, before all these different things that's removing you from what it is you want to create. That's why they were so creative back then. That's why they had more tailors, people making one-of-one styles, one-of-one blazers, one-of-one blouses. They ain't have all these different things pulling at their attention. That's why these mamas and grandmamas had all these different flavors and recipes. They ain't have all these different food places pulling them away from their creativity. That's why the artists in the 60s and the 70s and the 50s and the 40s, that's why they were so astute and so sharp. They can play instruments and create their own unique styles and beats and rhythms and ad libs. They ain't have all these different things pulling them away from their focus. So what I'm trying to show y'all is if you really want to make something great, because we the micro to the macro, we the small G to the big G. We made in the image of God and his likeness. He made us human, just like he made us like him. He didn't make us a dog, a cat, a snake, a rat, a animal. He made us like him. You know what I mean? He made us the ability to create. We the small G to the big G. You know what I mean? So with that being said, if we made in his likeness and his image, we got the same ability, but on a smaller scale. You know what I mean? So, but the way that you cultivate and enhance and bring that ability to life, you gotta remove all of the distractions, all of the things that's keeping you from giving birth to what it is you wrote down, to your plans. You know what I mean? You gotta literally go into that womb like that baby, undistracted, in that dark womb, that dark place away from the world, and only give your attention and your focus to what it is you wrote down, to your plans, to your dreams, to what it is you want to create and manifest. And give yourself a good strong 9 months of labor pains, you know what I mean? And the pains of you know what I mean, being undistracted, the pains of removing yourself from, you know what I mean, the things that's keeping you away from giving birth to what it is you want to manifest. Imagine if you was able to do that in this day and time, in this era. Imagine how unique you're going to be. Imagine how strong your creativity going to be. Because the powers that be, they know these things. That's why they want your focus diluted. Think of the word concentration. Something that's tangibly concentrated is thick, it's solid, it's sticky, it's syrupy, it's not weak, it's not diluted. And the same thing with your mind. When your mind fully focused and concentrated, it's not dispersed all over. It's not on social media. It's not all on all these different channels and shows you got to catch up with. It's fully focused and it's strong and concentrated and not diluted. It's only on that one thing that you wrote down that you want to manifest. Imagine if you was able to have the same level of focus that they had back in the day before all these distractions came. Imagine how powerful you are. Imagine what you're going to give birth to through your inner visions, through what it is that you want to create. So I just want to show you how to use your ability to manifest. And the way that you use your ability to manifest is to remove all the distractions. And that's why they were so prolific back then. That's why they was able to make so many different unique things in that particular era. That's why people from this day and era is copying off of that era, because the concentration was more stronger. So they was able to be more unique. So, I'm just showing you how and giving you certain keys, because I even studied my theory, you know what I mean? And I realized the people that did the great things, they was the less distracted ones. You know what I mean? Whether it's Kobe, you know what I mean, and what he brought forth to the league, because he removed himself from all of the distractions for the most part. Whether it's Ray Lewis, I studied Ray Lewis. They say this man used to watch film for 12 hours a day. Like, what he had to do, what type of distractions he had to remove himself from to watch film that long. So that gave him the ability to use more than just his physical prowess on the field. That's why when he won that Super Bowl and he had an injured arm, his presence made the whole team better, because he had so much inner knowledge from studying film 10 hours a day for years on end. He can see the audible. He can see the play, even though they were to try to psych him out with an audible. He'd say, no, they great, do this, move over that way. So he can tell his team what to do and not even have to physically use his strength. But that just go to show you how strong focus is. Reginald Lewis, the billionaire from Baltimore, I read his book. His focus was so strong, he literally removed himself from the world and only focused on business for years. That gave him the ability to work out the kinks in other people's business where they had a failing business, he was able to revamp their business and resell it. He would gain business acquisitions of a failing business, revamp the business, and then sell it. You know what I mean? So Warren Buffett, I studied his book. While his brothers and sisters is running around playing, he in the Library of Congress just reading for hours on end. Hours on end. That's what gave him the ability to foresee the stock market. It actually like gave him the ability to see where the stock market was going to go. So he would take other people's money and say, look, I promise you I'm going to give you a return on your investment. So he was so strong and smart within, he didn't even have to use his own money. But that can't, and he would use other people's money and tell them, I'm going to return your, I'm going to give you interest on your money. Just give me your money. And they trusted him because he dedicated himself to that library for hours on end until he had the ability to be astute with the stock market. But I'm just giving you all these different examples to show you how if you really remove yourself from the distractions of the world, which we're in a world that's have a plethora of distractions right now. It's so many of them. It's over 1,000 different TV channels. It's 1,000 different news platforms. There's so many social media, so many different places to eat, so many different places to buy clothes from. But imagine if you take yourself back in time and get rid of all of these distractions like they didn't have all these different distractions in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. Imagine if you can put yourself in that era and live as if you're in the 40s, meaning, yo, it ain't no different restaurants all over the place. It ain't all these different TV channels. It ain't no TV invented yet. It's only a newspaper. It's only a bullhorn. It's only word of mouth. It ain't all these different distractions. Imagine if you can live how they lived in that era, in this era. You know what I mean? People going to actually treat you like you're the plug. They're going to be like, man, let me take something and pull from his creativity. You know what I mean? You ain't got to dig in the crates and pull from other people's creativity when you laser focused and locked in like you're supposed to be. But you got to treat yourself like you in an era of no distractions like they was in the 40s, like they was in the 50s and the 60s. You know what I mean? They ain't have all these different TV channels. So don't let wicked people in high places dilute your concentration and focus, man. Write your vision, make it plain, and give your attention and your focus to what it is you want to give birth to. Give yourself a good 9 months of labor pains, you know what I mean? And remove yourself from the distractions and only give your attention to what it is you jotted down, what it is you wrote down, and cultivate it and nurture it with the right information, with the right repetitions, with the right repeats, the right constant practice, and give birth to something great, man. You know what I mean? Don't let the enemy dilute your distraction, dilute your attention, dilute your focus, because that's your greatest gift from the Most High. That's what separates us from the animal domain, is our focus, our concentration, our ability to manifest and create like the ultimate creator. So if we the small G to the big G, we the micro to the macro, we got the same ability as the Most High, but just to a lesser degree. You know what I mean? So all praises to the Most High, you know what I mean? But at the same time, use your ability, use your talent to be a creator on a micro level, you know what I mean? Because he gave you that power. And I just use my time and energy and observation to make a brief synopsis of what I discovered from studying people that's successful. And what they all got in common is focus. And like I said, that's why people in the music industry pull from those eras, because they was less distracted. That's why their product was more unique and it was more quality. And the same way with fashion, the same way with food. They pull from those earlier previous eras because they was less distracted. That's why their product and the texture of it was such more great and quality based. So hopefully you get what I'm putting down, you know what I mean? You picking up what I put down just now, because it's powerful once you really understand or how that works. Love.